Tell me about your cultural background.
My mom is from Thailand, so I have Thai up in my blood, and my dad is a white, redheaded, freckled, very large man. So half Thai and half white. American.
Well, my ethnic background, I'm an Asian American. So my mom's Asian, my dad's American, so I'm half.
Well, my dad's Filipino, my mom's Swedish, and they met in the Bay Area, went to high school and college together. My dad's side of the family is really Filipino, really Catholic, like really family oriented.
I've always been asked like, what are you kind of thing. Even when I visited Laos, it was still kind of like, what are you?
If I strike up a conversation with anybody new, it's usually one of the first couple questions that I'm asked.
I get asked by strangers a lot, and they're like, are you Chinese? Or like, are you Japanese? And like, I don't like mind it so much, just because I'm like, yeah, like I get that that's an easy thing to like mix up, I guess, if you don't know like certain characteristics. And for me also, it took me a long time to like understand like facial structures and all that kind of stuff. But it is weird to me, like when people are so like come up to you, like strangers just out of the blue asking you what you are, and it's just like, I'm Korean, like what does that matter?
I think when I was in school, I would be asked like, what kind of Asian are you, or like, where are you from, a lot. But I think it's happening less and less to me. Maybe it's just because the people I'm meeting are older and more sort of sensitive about that.
You know, like, oh, where are you from? Minnesota. Well, I mean, like, where is your family from? Minnesota. Like, just like different sort of like, which is like, also, where does that get me?
I have a love-hate relationship with people asking about my ethnicity, because I am mixed. But probably the most irritating one is when people assume I'm Chinese. I prefer to be called Pacific Islander because it's a more specific category of Asian. You know, we are on an island and we're like kind of detached from Asia, right? And we were conquered by Spanish. There's a really complicated history, and I think that just to make assumptions that, you know, Chinese and Japanese are the only Asians are just, it's kind of a consequence, because we really only represent Chinese or Japanese Asian Americans on television or in movies and mainstream.
I love vocalists, like love Mariah Carey, Beyonce, whatever. Like, I love it. I'm not ashamed. Like, I love it. And there are some really awesome Filipino singers. Like, just recently, American Idol, like, the second runner-up was Filipino, and she was badass. Like, just amazing singer.
Since I'm an actor, when I go in for Asian roles, yeah, it's definitely, like, you know, very everyone's sort of the same. And when I go into roles, like, usually she's like, you know, the dragon lady or the nerdy awkward.
I do feel like there's a void in our culture and our society that, like, you know, Asian Americans, they aren't represented that well, I don't think, and I don't think that they're represented much. And so it's weird that it is such a topic. And, you know, I was just talking to my coworkers about this, and like I don't understand either, like the weird fetish, like an Asian fetish, when they talk about like yellow fever and like someone like only likes Asian chicks. That's so bizarre to me, because it's become a commodity to be Asian now.
I was sitting in a bar one time, and this white guy was telling me about how he only dates Asian women because they're submissive, and he's tired of all these American women who, you know, give him so much lip, but like if he can find a nice Asian girl, you know, she'll do whatever he says, and, you know, she'll be happy to serve him and cook his meals and do his laundry. And I was so annoyed, because I was like, you have no idea that you're talking to a half Asian woman right now.
Being Asian, half or, you know, 100%, you become like a fetish almost, that they hypersexualize you as being submissive. And that's something that really angers me, because actually I had a friend, her dissertation was, she worked in a strip club, and for one whole year she's Japanese. She dressed in normal stripper clothes, which not much, right? And then for a whole nother year, she talked with like an Asian accent, right? And then she made triple the amount of tips in her fetish Asian costume when she wore a little China dress. And the other strippers were so angry, they cut up her little China dresses and they bleached her fitting room and they tried to set it on fire. So I think that this is a very real thing to put a fetish on Asian Americans.
There's an expectation that I'm good at math and that I'm not good with my feelings. And I guess I do hear people asking how big my dick is more than other people probably get asked.
Well, everyone thinks I'm really good with numbers, you know, merge without using my blinker. I'm a really bad driver, so I've gotten a few tickets and I got my license suspended recently. But, I mean, for the most part, not all Asians are great with numbers and terrible drivers.
Probably the most alienating thing actually was I had a white English teacher who I believe was married to an East Asian cultures professor. And so she was very, very into Chinese culture and really leaned on me to provide sort of support or like provide tell her she was cool. And I did not give a shit enough to really do it, and I just didn't really know enough. Like, I'm sure factually she knows way more about Chinese culture than I do, but it's still a little grating when it's kind of an older white lady just asking you, like, right, huh? I'm saying, I don't know, maybe, lady, come on. I grew up in Michigan.
I was one of maybe 3 Asians in the school in sixth to eighth grade. So I remember walking down in the cafeteria and people calling me a chink, even though I'm not Chinese. I don't think I even look Chinese, but it was like chink and then like doing this kind of thing. It might have been the first time I ever was experienced to racism like that.
Growing up in Saugus, like I was always called Chink. People call me a chink. People, like my first day in 7th grade, someone threw apples at me and just said like, oh, like it was something, you know, like you stupid Asian nerd.
When we moved from Minneapolis to Bloomington when I was like 5. I think the first week that we moved, that would be like moving from the city to the suburbs. Bloomington's where the Mall of America is. Some neighborhood kids shot BBs through our window, and there was through a lit bag of shit. And I think they thought we were either Korean or Vietnamese. I forget which one. What I don't forget is my dad chasing them with our minivan. That I won't forget.
Pretty much always growing up, because my mom's white and I look more Asian, people always just assumed I was adopted. And to me, that was just crazy. Like, really? Like, just because I don't look exactly like her, I'm adopted?
So I was adopted 5-6 months after I was born. Like, my dad talking about family trees and, like, talking about the Black Dutch and talking about everything that his bloodline has. I am so interested in it, you know? And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, that's amazing. Like, they lived there their whole lives and they came over at this time. But then I remember that wasn't me. You know, like, my family did not come over to America. My family is still in Korea somewhere.
I used to identify really strongly as Japanese American because I'm half Japanese and my middle and last names are Japanese. So I went through this whole phase of like, oh, I want to learn Japanese and like reconnect with my roots and go to Japan and all that stuff. But more recently, I've sort of been divorcing myself from that identity and just sort of trying to identify more as just American. Because while I am like half Japanese, the more I sort of look into Japanese culture and history, the less appealing it becomes to me, I guess. And the more I sort of cling to American cultures and traditions.
I want to meet my parents a lot. And again, as I'm getting older, I want to meet them more and more. It's starting to become something that I need, that I'm thinking about when I graduate, going over to Korea and searching for them. And I want to meet the woman who gave birth to me. And I want to meet the man who ran away. And I want to meet my half-brothers and sisters if I have any. And to see faces that look like mine. Because that's another difficult thing about it, is that I don't see anyone that has the same features as me, or maybe weird characteristics that, you know, my parents don't have, but only I have, or yeah, something that only genetics can allow.